most people probably know that your uncle played cricket for Australia and that your dad played for Queensland.
Mm-hmm.
When you were little, was cricket always the sport that you wanted to play?
Actually, not at all. I guess having the last name Healy, people assume that it was... I never had a choice or I was going to do that. But for me, I played every sport that I possibly could. I loved playing soccer growing up. I loved playing hockey. I played a bit of netball, a bit of softball. So, but for me, cricket was sort of just the constant. Every summer I went and played cricket randomly. I really made a heap of really nice friends playing the game of cricket. So it kind of just kept happening. And then all of a sudden I was playing for Australia. So no, it wasn't my choice. I always wanted to play hockey for Australia and go to the Olympics, but here I am playing cricket professionally, which is pretty cool.
Well, I guess it's good that everything happened like it did.
Everything happens for a reason, right? And I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, perhaps.
Yeah. And did you feel, was there like much pressure that if you didn't play cricket, then your parents or your dad would kind of be disappointed that you didn't follow after?
No, not one bit. I mean, my parents were super supportive of me just being outside in the sunshine, enjoying life. And for me, like I said, I played every sport and they encouraged me to do that and find a passion. And, you know, cricket wasn't a full-time sport back then, so it was like sort of just a hobby on the side. So they never pushed me into the game, but I guess from my dad's perspective, as soon as I started playing for New South Wales and started, you know, getting picked in Australian squads, you know, it became a reality and Dad was super proud. But they never pushed me into the game of cricket. They just encouraged me to go outside, play sport and enjoy it.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to ask this, and I'm 12, and when you were that age, you experienced a life-changing tragedy when your sister passed away suddenly. Mm-hmm. I've got a sister too, and I can't imagine life without her.
Yep.
I don't want to focus on this, but I did want to ask, what were your favourite things that the two of you used to do together?
Well, funnily enough, we were polar opposites. I mean, we both loved sport. We both enjoyed it. She was a really, really good soccer player. That was kind of where she was at, and I just dabbled in every sport, like I said. So, but we were quite opposite people, which I think, in hindsight, you know, especially if we got the opportunity to grow up together, it would have been a really cool experience, living our lives so differently. But yeah, I've got some really fond memories of having a big sister when I was a lot younger, and those experiences will, you know, I'll carry with me for the rest of my life, which is pretty cool. But
yeah.
I guess it's a good lesson for everyone to, especially for you with a sister, to, you know, tell them how much you love them every day and hang out with them and be kind to one another, because you don't know how long they're going to be around for. So it's a good lesson for everyone out there.
Yeah. And do you have like a favourite memory or something that you just remember doing with her?
You've asking the good questions now. You know what? Not really. I think I've got lots of different ones that stand out, but one that does, you know, come front of mind is we used to have this old dodgy Nintendo 64. You might not even know what that is back then, where you had to put it down and put the cartridges in. You had to blow the cartridges to put them into work, and we used to love playing Mario Kart on that. So that's one of the memories that I'll probably keep.
Yeah, I guess me and my sister at my grandma's house, who passed away as well recently, so I guess.
Yeah.
We used to play like Mario Kart a lot there too, so
how good.
It's a funny thing to bond over, I guess.
It is, but it was some sort of competitive but fun and something that we could do together, which is really cool.
Yeah. And when you were already obsessed with sport at that age, or did what happened kind of make you want to use sport as like kind of a distraction, I guess?
I guess it enabled me to be distracted to an extent, but it also, it was already something that I loved doing and something that I really enjoyed, being outside and being around a group of people. And I feel like I'm an introverted extrovert, so when I'm around a group of people I really come out of my shell, and I really love that. And I think potentially when you go through something like that, you know, it could change you as a person, and you could go really inside yourself. So I guess from my point of view, to be able to go out and play sport, it really helped me come out of my shell and enjoy life, because it's obviously a really sad time. But yeah, look, it definitely helped me, and I think cricket helped me in particular. It was, you know, it all happened in the summer, so to have cricket there, have my mates around me all the time in that sad part of the year, definitely helped me a lot.
Yeah. And who were your role models and idols when you were around that age?
Well, I used to love watching Ricky Ponting bat. I think he was my idol when I started playing cricket. All I wanted to do was bat like him and play like him. But it was probably around that age where I learnt that Australia had a women's team and there was women's cricket, and it was a potential pathway for me. So around that age was kind of really exciting. I got to learn the names of Belinda Clark, Lisa Kiteley. Some of these amazing women actually played at my club at Balmain, and I got to meet them and see what they were doing, and that was really exciting. And I remember actually going to my first ever Australian game down at Bankstown Oval, and I saw Julia Price take an absolute hanger in front of first slip behind the stumps, and I thought that was awesome. So it was right around then that I learnt that there was a team, and I guess those amazing women who are such legends of our game sort of became a role model of mine, and I got to sort of watch them play and play alongside them, which I think was even more special.
Yeah. And were you playing others? Oh, sorry, never mind that question from as well. And what was it about cricket that made you just decide to focus on that, or you kind of accidentally get it?
Yeah, I think it was it was inside of me, this cricket, whether it was sort of a talent or a skill, but I think I just really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the fact that it was a team sport. I was out there with 10 of my mates. I was playing with the boys a lot in junior cricket, so I've made friends that I'm still in contact with today, which is really cool and really unique about our sport. So I think that kept me in the game, and I think once I kind of realised that I could play a little bit, and I was getting picked in teams, then it sort of became a bit more than just a hobby. It became sort of a passion, and I work really hard at being better. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And when you were a teenager, what did you think was possible for girls in cricket in terms of like having a career out of it? And was that something that you thought about while you were playing?
I guess at that time it was a part-time profession, right? So for me, playing for Australia was a goal, but it wasn't the ultimate goal. I think if I could go on and play for Australia, it would have been a really cool and exciting thing to achieve. But I always thought that I was going to have to be doing something else outside of that as well, whether it be a career or, going to uni full time, whatever it was. So I think at that time it was just the enjoyment level. But yeah, once I guess I started playing, it's really progressed in the 12 years that I've been involved in the Aussie squad. It started out where I was, and what it's got to now has been unbelievable. So, when I was 14, 15, 16, I never thought that was ever going to happen. But I guess to sit here today as a 32-year-old and say that I'm a fully professional cricketer and I get to play cricket for a living is pretty special, and I'm really grateful that I got the opportunity to sort of be a part of that growth.
It's pretty crazy, though.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Think about it.
Yep.
I could never imagine where I'll be in 20 years' time or whatever.
Yeah, well, imagine how good women's cricket's going to be then. It might not even be women's cricket, it might just be cricket. Yeah. Right? So there's going to be so many cool opportunities for people like yourself to come through and play not only for Australia, but the Sixers and New South Wales, and people are going to know everyone's names, which is really cool.
Yeah. And when you were at high school, you were picked as the wicketkeeper in the school's first grade team, which had just always been a boys' team. I think one day you heard a knock on the front door to a journalist asking you about it for the news. Yep. Did you realise that was going to be such a big deal?
I didn't. It was quite a funny story, actually. My grandma was down looking after me when my parents went away, and something always happened when Grandma came to visit, right, and came to look after us. There was always some sort of, not a scandal, but something went wrong. So lo and behold, this time it was a reporter knocking on the front door at 6 a.m. before I was ready for school, and I answered the door in my pajamas. So that went down well. But yeah, it was an interesting time of my life, but I think a really great experience for me as a young female in that environment. It's sort of the first time that I'd probably seen sexism like that, and that was quite a confronting thing for me as a young female. But I think the way that I saw the school, my teammates, which are all the boys, my coaches, the head of cricket, all get behind me and support me, and I guess show another side of it, I thought was really cool, and I'm grateful for that experience. I think it made me a better cricketer, but it also, I think, helped me develop as a human as well, just being out of your comfort zone like that. So the opportunity was really cool.
Yeah. And so you were one of Australia's best ever wicket keepers. So you were the relative of one of Australia's best ever wicket keepers, and now suddenly you were also the first ever girl playing in this boys team. Did all of that make you feel like there was heaps of pressure on you every time you dropped a catch or got out batting?
I guess there was probably a little element of an extra bit of pressure. Everyone knew who you were, why you were there. You know, you're the only girl. Everyone's talking about you, right? But I guess from my point of view, I saw it as an opportunity to prove everyone wrong. And you know, I never asked for any special treatment. I said if I'm not good enough to play in the first, don't pick me in the first. Pick me where you think I'd fit, whether that's twos, threes, whatever it is. And so I rightfully earned that spot. And at the end of the day, we won the competition, so I must have had a half decent year. But I loved it. I think it made me a more resilient cricketer purely from that added little bit of pressure that you had to go out and feel like you had to perform better than everybody else just to prove yourself. But the boys that were around me just didn't ever make me feel like that. They just wanted me to go out there and have fun like they were, and win a trophy, which we did.
Yeah. And I guess that was good preparation for playing for Australia like years later.
Yep. Yeah, well, I'm constantly under pressure playing for Australia, right? It's your job, it's your livelihood, and you know, making runs and winning trophies is what you want to do and what you want to be a part of. So yeah, it's been great. I guess learning that at an early age and learning that resilience and learning how to play and play well under pressure, I think was now that you've mentioned it, probably a great learning experience at a young age.
Yeah. And I think that you were 20 years old when you first played your first game for Australia in 2010, the year I was born.
Oh, wow. Thanks for that.
If I asked you to name 3 big differences between playing in that game and today's games, what would they be? It could be on the field or off the field.
I'm pretty sure no one was there, so there you go. Or that was off the field. I don't think anyone was there to watch it. I think pretty sure it was just people's families there cheering and clapping, which was cool. And you look at it now, I just got the opportunity to play in that T20 World Cup final at the MCG in front of 87,000 people, and even this year in Christchurch playing that World Cup final in front of a sold-out crowd. So that's been probably one of the biggest differences. On field, I think the game's changed quite a lot. I think it's become really dynamic, really athletic, and just highly skillful. I think women's cricketers in the past had always been seen as really technical players, really nice to watch, really easy on the eye. But I think the way that the game's changed and developed, it's become a lot more powerful, and I think that's been really exciting, and it's sort of suited the way that I like to play the game. And I like to take it on and have a little bit of a slog here and there. So definitely that. The third one, I think just the professionalism of the game, right? I'm pretty sure my first contract was under $5,000 for the 12 months for Australia, which at that time I thought was an amazing amount of money because it was helping me go to uni and didn't have to work for the couple of weeks I was away, so that was cool. But I guess to sit here now as fully professional and get paid to come here every day and train and work hard and get better at something is amazing. So I'm really grateful for that. Yeah,
it's pretty crazy how far it's come in just like 10 years. Imagine what it's going to be like in another 10 years.
But that's the beauty of it, and that's something that's really special to our group that are involved in the game at the moment. Is it's so exciting to see where we can help it get to, and for young girls like yourself that are going to come through and keep knocking down even more doors and keep making the game even better. It brings a smile to my face, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. And in your first one-day game in your first 10 one-day game for Australia, I think you scored 21 in the first match, and then you didn't score more than 6 for the next 9 matches. Sometimes you were the wicket keeper and sometimes you weren't. How were you feeling at that time with it kind of being all over the place?
Yeah, well, thanks for reminding me of that. I didn't realise I was that bad.
Different than you were used to.
Yeah, it was a different time for me. I probably didn't have confidence in myself, in my ability. I think I also probably didn't quite have some clarity on what my role was in the team. Yes, I was the fill-in wicketkeeper. Sometimes I was fielding on the boundary. Sometimes I was coming in to slog the last 10 overs. I think probably that unknown caused that lack of self-confidence, and I guess the way that I naturally played the game was quite aggressive, and sometimes you get out a little bit more often than everybody else. So yeah, it was a weird time, but I guess I've really enjoyed the way that it's just been able to grow, and I think it helped me as a cricketer and helped me as a person. Just hang in there and be resilient, and keep trying to take the opportunities that were given to me. And thankfully I can sit here now having some amazing experiences.
Yeah. And kind of like you just mentioned, batting can be pretty tough. Like,
Yep.
you make one little mistake and then you're gone, and someone else gets more runs than you're in there. Better because you just made one little mistake and
Yep.
they get ones. When you go out to bat, are you trying to avoid making a mistake altogether, or do you accept that you'll just probably make a mistake and try to score as many runs before that happens?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I mean, you look at Meg Lanning's career. I think I played in her first ODI game, and I think I got out cheaply early. She went on and made 100, and has become one of the best players in the world, and leading the Australian side. So you look at how our two careers completely went in opposite directions, but. Yeah, look, I think it's not necessarily thinking about not making a mistake. I think you're going to make a mistake, and there's so much out there on the cricket field that you can't control. All you can control is what you're doing in that moment. You can't control what's coming down at you or the pitch conditions. So it's not about not making a mistake. It's just trying to limit how big of a mistake you're going to make, and I guess and doing that more often. You're going to make a mistake, but just make sure it's a good one in a good zone. And for me, I talk about risks, and it's taking good risks over bad risks. So, making sure I'm sticking to my game plan and taking some really good risks that I know I can execute.
Yeah, taking risks and making sure you can stay out for as long as you can.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And when you're having a lot of kind of low scores in a row, what helps you to keep a positive attitude?
I think just knowing that it can turn around. I think I'm fully aware that cricket is such a fickle game that, you could walk out feeling on top of the world and make 100, and the next day you can turn up for the same game against the same opposition and get a first ball duck. So for me, I've always had that opinion and that perspective, and I always knew it was going to turn around. I think if you put in the hard work and you accept that, I think it will turn around. And I've always had that belief, and it's probably enabled me to bounce back from a lot of low scores and sort of that creeping in of the lack of self-confidence again. But I always know that it'll turn around. It just takes one little bit of luck, I reckon, and you get yourself back on your feet, and you're flying. So just having that knowledge, that perspective.
Yeah, and I know you're probably sick of talking about it by now, but the T20 World Cup final in Melbourne, is there a favourite moment that you have from that night?
Apart from on stage with Katy Perry, I mean, that was pretty cool, and I think people forget that we sometimes played a cricket game before that, but I think just that whole day, I mean, I can't pinpoint something in the night. That whole day was just an amazing experience, and I saw people that I'd played cricket with growing up, who I'd idolised playing the game all that day and the night before, all wandering around Melbourne wanting to be a part of that, and I thought that was unbelievable. And to play the way we did was pretty cool. That's probably the best part about that night, is to just play the perfect game of cricket when we did on the biggest stage. Made me a happy lady. Yeah,
I wasn't actually at the game in Melbourne. I think me and my dad were deciding whether or not to go down.
Oh, right.
But I wish I could have gone.
You missed out. Everyone wants to talk about it.
I was at one of the games, though, I think. I was at one of the games earlier on, though, before you guys made
You're a true supporter.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was watching the Katy Perry's little concert after, and the winning catch by Ash Gunner, I think.
Yep, Ash, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a pretty fun match.
It was amazing. It was a great game of cricket for us, obviously.
And it's already considered an iconic occasion for women's cricket, but also women's sport in general, and you were right in the centre of it. How do you look back at that night?
It just a life-changing experience for me. I think never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that I could play at the MCG in front of 87,000 people. I think you asked me that question earlier about what would you think about women's cricket as a teenager, and never did I think that was going to be a thing. So it was really life-changing, and just a moment that will stick with me for a very long period of time. And obviously if I had gone out there and got out first ball, I would have had the same experience. I think it was just an amazing thing to be a part of, and to see so many people knowingly come down, and yes, Katy Perry was a big draw card, but to come down and watch a women's team do what they do, it was just an amazing moment for our country. And so many people, I heard them say it was their first game of women's cricket, and that they would definitely come back, which was really cool.
Yeah. Although it's not probably always going to be an Australia game in a World Cup final, still.
No.
Women's cricket's a very fun sport.
It's great, isn't it? It's good fun to play, and for me, I get to travel the world and do it. So, I mean, why wouldn't you?
And then a few months ago, you played 2 amazing innings in the semi-final and the final of the One-Day World Cup, including the highest ever score by a man or woman in a World Cup final. When you're batting like that and every shot you hit is just like going to the boundary, what is that just feeling like?
Yeah, it's a rare thing for me to experience. I'll tell you that. I mean, you just read out my stats for the first few years of cricket, so it's like a moment of zen, right? It's where everything seems to come together and your plan seems to have paid off, and you get the opportunity to go out and just bat, which is really cool. And I knew it was going to be difficult early. Both Rach and I did, and we sort of fought through that, knowing that was their big threat, and we were able to cash in. And I thought, it was just one of those moments that I'll probably look back on when I finish playing and think, how did I do that? Or maybe I'll watch it and see how I did it. But just a great day of cricket that was.
Yeah. And I actually spoke to Talia McGraw, which I may have mentioned earlier, while you guys were in hotel quarantined before that World Cup. And she said that some of your older players that missed out on winning in 2017 were so determined to win this time.
Yep.
What did winning that mean to you guys?
A lot. And it wasn't relief. It wasn't that feeling. It was just satisfaction. I mean, it was 5 years. We had to wait after that World Cup when we sort of got bundled out. And I remember being rushed out of England as well. It was like we lost. We didn't even really get the chance to sit down and talk about what happened. We were sort of shipped off and off you go, and had to watch the final from there or back in Australia. So it was a long 5-year wait, and a lot of talking about that and sort of learning from that. And I guess to finally get out there and play as well as we did in that World Cup, to be undefeated is incredibly hard to achieve. And it took 5 years of blood, sweat and tears, but thankfully at the end of it we've got a medal and a trophy in the cabinet, which is exactly where we wanted to be.
Yeah. And which was your favourite, the T20 World Cup final or the One-Day World Cup final?
I mean, Katy Perry wasn't playing after the One-Day World Cup final, so that win's there. But I think that win in Christchurch was in the One-Day final was a really sweet feeling for everyone. So I'm going to say that one.
I know you love your golf too. Which is a better feeling, hitting a 6 into the stand at the MCG or hitting a tee shot right next to the flag?
Oh, you've really put me on the spot here. Look, I've never had a hole-in-one, so I can imagine that having a hole-in-one is going to be the best feeling on the planet.
I might have been mini golf once, but I guess that's not the same.
I probably haven't even done that, so you'll beat me to that. Look, I reckon getting a hole-in-one is going to be way better than hitting a 6 at the MCG, so fingers crossed it happens one day.
Yeah, I guess the 6 can really go anywhere, but you're trying to be very with the golf.
Correct.
It's gotta go perfect.
And I feel like people may only ever have one hole-in-one in their life, whereas I feel like I get an opportunity to try and hit 6s at the MCG quite regularly, so come on, hole-in-one.
Yeah, hopefully when I play one of my games later this year I can get a 4. I think the most I got was a 2.
You'll be right. When you get big and strong, you'll hit it for 6. Short, straight boundaries, you'll be right. Play nice and straight.
And could you ever see yourself playing golf professionally one day, or is it strictly just for fun?
No way. I get asked this question a lot, and I think deep down I always thought maybe it might be a possibility, but over the last few years I've been really lucky to get the opportunity to spend a bit of time with some professional golfers, and I see how hard they work, how good they are, how skillful they are. And there is no way I would ever get there, as much as I would try. But also, I don't know if I want to dedicate 9 hours a day swinging a golf club. I mean, spending 9 hours by myself, not a great time. So, no, as much as I would love to do it, nowhere near good enough to do it.
I mean, there is Ash Barty, and she's
Ash is a very, very good golfer.
She's already won the little tournament, I think, as well. So.
Yep, she's good. Maybe one day we might have a match up. I reckon everyone would love to see that happen. So maybe one day.
May the best win, I guess.
Correct.
And if my maths is right, your husband Mitch Stark is a whole 53 days older than you.
Mm-hmm.
So the two of you ever notice a difference in the kinds of questions you get asked about your careers and futures?
That's a very good question. Yes, I do notice that quite a lot, actually. As funnily enough as a female in this game, as soon as you turn 30, people want to talk to you about retirement and what your life's going to look like and when you're going to have kids, and especially being married to someone like Mitch, people want to know that all the time. So yeah, it is. Now that I sit back and think about it, I do get asked a lot of different questions, whereas probably Mitch is a bit more, like a bit more of a longevity question, more as like the formats, which ones are you going to play and whatnot, whereas mine's a bit more about retirement. So that's really interesting, and I never really thought about it. But I mean, the beauty for us, we're both doing what we love at the top level, and we're still enjoying ourselves. So hopefully we can both play forever.
I mean, there are plenty of athletes like Ava Cora-Staunton. I think she's like 40 years old now. So
yeah.
You don't have to retire. You could just keep playing until you're 60.
I think I might be pushed out of the team by then. But, I mean, that's the beauty of one of the changes that you asked about before is, the opportunity to potentially step away from the game and have a family and come back and play the game. There's great opportunities for young girls and older girls to do that now with the parental policy. So it's really exciting times for a lot of girls that are involved in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And cricket is one of the leaders with women's sport in terms of pay, providing assistance to mothers and other areas too.
Yep.
What would you love to see next grow in women's cricket even more and more?
Well, good question. I think for me, I'd love to see the domestic game flourish. I think we've seen the WBBL and how successful that is, and I think we can constantly rejig that tournament to make sure it stays fresh and people want to come and watch. I know we sell out our boutique grounds, and I love that feel. There's so many young families that come to watch the game, but I'd love to see this team, the Breakers that I'm wearing the shirt at the moment, I'd love to see the domestic teams in the WNCL get really well supported, and for that to be the real breeding ground of the next Australian cricketers, which it is at the moment, but it's still quite a part-time gig for a lot of the girls in our squad. So I'd love to see them full-time and the opportunity to get to be that and to test their skills and to work on the game a little more full-time so that they can be the best player they can, and if they get the opportunity to play for Australia, they're ready to go. So hopefully that changes.
And in 10 years, what do you hope women's cricket looks like? Although it was kind of part of the last question.
Look, I just hope it remains one of the fastest growing sports in the country. I think we're enticing young girls to want to come and play the game, and that's really exciting. And I think if we keep doing that, it'll just keep growing at the top level, and there'll be more opportunities for us to play a lot more international cricket, which is, I think really exciting.
And what advice would you have for kids playing sport?
Go out and do it. I mean, there's so many opportunities to not be outside nowadays with, phones and iPads and computers. And I think go out there, play as much sport as you can. I think you learn amazing life skills. Yes, you learn a lot of skills, whether it's to catch, throw, hit. But I think your life skills you learn, teamwork, resilience, camaraderie, mateship. I think they're invaluable for life. So go out there, play sport. It's a really unique place to learn all these things, and I think it'll put you in good stead for the future.